Hey guys, want to talk about swords again? Because I kind of want to talk about swords again. The precious blade, Kitetsu. Okay, so backing up, going a little bit less creepy here, now on to factual teching. This is going to be a follow-up video, and this isn't something I do a lot to videos I've already done, but I feel like I'm going to have to do more and more of these as the One Piece story progresses. Which, the remaining 20% of the story, apparently, because, yeah, Oda came out and said, we're 80% done, boys and girls! Now, I would take that statement with a little bit of a grain of salt, just because from what I've seen how Oda writes this story over the years, and I'm not an expert, I'm not the one writing the damn manga, okay? I'm not like Oda's little puppet master or whatever. Or am I? There are a few of my theories that I got kinda right. I don't know. But anyway, no. I feel like this kind of medium, this weekly kind of medium, you can't just lay it all out like this is exactly how I'm gonna write every single chapter from now until the end of the story. Because I feel like at certain points, Oda might get to a part of the story that he, like, basically laid out. Like, maybe at some point we're gonna find out Kinemon's backstory. Just something basic. We'll just use Kinemon's backstory. Okay. Let's say he has that planned out in general, like, this is where I want to put that. But then he gets to that actual part of the story, and he's writing it, and he's like, you know, I was originally only going to focus on Kinemon's backstory for one chapter, but I've actually come up with a few new ideas, and I want to include a few more things, so let's make it two chapters, or 3 chapters. Art kind of evolves, you know, and new ideas come in, so don't take, because I crunched the numbers on that, if we're really just 80% done exactly, and we have about 200-something chapters left, so we're still good for, like, a good 5 years, minimal. But I think it's going to be a little bit more than that. I don't think it's going to be like, we're exactly 100%, 80% done. You can crunch the numbers and get the exact number, and that's how many chapters of One Piece are left. So I think it's going to be a little bit more than that. But, yeah, moving on to this video. Now, this is a follow-up to a video I made in January just about Kitetsu blades. So watch that video as just an introduction to what Kitetsu blades are, all the stuff that we pretty much knew about Kitetsu swords prior to the most recent chapter, chapter 912, where we get introduced to Tenguyama Hitetsu properly. We get to find out his name, and we get to find out that he is in possession of one of the cursed blades of Kitetsu, Nidai Kitetsu. This is Sandai Kitetsu, but as soon as they make the Nidai Kitetsu available, I will buy that one too. And there's a few things in that video that I mentioned in the Kitetsu video I didn't bring up in the review, and it's just, I wanted to slap myself. One of the things that's the most obvious is that, okay, we have the Sandai Kitetsu wielded by Zoro, and it looks like this. Then we have the Nidai Kitetsu, which is currently wielded by Luffy, and we're gonna get into that discussion later on in this video, how Luffy is gonna use the Nidai. Oh my god, a lot of people might end up dead because of this. but okay, it looks like this. You're noticing a similarity. You're seeing how the guard is the same. It has these little grooves in it, and how the sheath has this, you know, grip right here. They both look very similar. So one would assume that if both of these generations of Kitetsu look pretty much the exact same, then the first generation, the Shodai Kitetsu, one of the 12 Saijo O Wazamono swords, would also look similar. And what other sword do we know that has that kind of design, and who's it wielded by? Well, Samurai Gandhi of the Gorosei, of course. I don't know why I'm talking in a southern redneck accent right now, but gee whiz, here we go with the Kitetsu blades, kids. So yeah, the Gorosei, the theory that he has the first generation Kitetsu makes sense. Also considering it's one of the 12 rarest, strongest swords in the entire world, I think a Gorosei would have the pedigree to own one of those. Unfortunately, that means we're probably not going to see the Shodai in Wano. Well, it's not going to be wielded by the Shogun or anything. But here's the thing. Here's the kicker. We've kind of neglected the whole Meito grade system for a very long time in One Piece. And it makes sense, because not every single island, not every single villain group that the Straw Hats run across are gonna have a master swordsman present. Okay, it gets mentioned every now and then, like, you'll have a sword that has a name, like, Cavendish's sword, Durandal, I think its name is. You know, that's ranked somewhere, but we don't know where it is. Law's sword, Kikoku, Demon Whale, it doesn't have a status, but it is a cursed blade, so this kind of stuff gets brought up from now and then. But in terms of actually looking like this is the, you know, one of the legendary 21 O Wazamono swords, and its name is, Hinga-dinga. I don't know. I'm not good at Japanese to begin with. I'm not great at coming up with Japanese. It's Ryu Tora Ishida. I'm just taking names. That's from Bleach. But anyway, yeah. This is the first arc where we really get, like, a lot of that. And we even find, Oda even puts in this little panel in the last chapter, which is cool because it explains that these famous blades that all have a rank, they're not all necessarily swords or katanas. They're just the blades that are created that have this status, okay? So they could be spears, they could be like, hey, Whitebeard's Bicento might have been one. Any sort of bladed, edged weapon that you see in the One Piece world, spear, naginata, bicento, axe, rapier, katana, anything like that could be considered one of the ranked, swords or ranked blades, from Wazamono to Ryu Wazamono to O Wazamono to Saijo O Wazamono. Alright, and so far, just going from the top 3, there's 12 Saijo O Wazamono swords, there are 21 O Wazamono swords, so that brings us up to 33. Wait, stop, yeah, 33, I can count. And then we have the 50 Ryu Wazamono swords, which is 83. Okay, just 83. Now, there is the last class, the 4th class, that just the regular Sandai Kitetsuin is, and that's just the Wazamono, and we don't know how many of those there are. But, yeah, so already we got, like, 83 swords just of this kind of status, plus how many Wazamono there are. I'm kind of happy they're not all straight katanas, you know what I mean? Not just, like, all these katanas in the world, they can be other bladed weapons that we might have seen at some point in the story. Shanks's griffin is not a katana. It's sort of like this, its guard is different, and its blade is sort of curved like a katana, but the guard is slightly different, so that's most likely a ranked blade of higher pedigree. That might be a Saijo O Wazamono swords. Hey, look, if nothing else, we need to delve into those 12 Saijo O Wazamono swords, okay? We need to find out all 12 of those in this series. I don't need to find out all 21 of the Supreme Grade. I don't need to find out all 50 of the Ryu, but come on, Oda, there's only 12. We already know about 2. Shodai and Yoru, so you got 10 left. 10 of these legendary blades in the world that have a class peerless above all else, the absolute apex of bladed weaponry. You got this, Oda. You can make 10 more of those. In fact, we might have already seen one in the last chapter, because Tenguyama Hitetsu had a blade that he also states was world-renowned. A world-renowned blade. Now, it might be of the same class as the Wado Ichimonji and of Shusui, which was also a very high class. Those were in the 21 Supreme Grade swords. Sorry, the 21 Great Grade swords. And those were very much well-known throughout the world. But, I mean, he didn't really... He was talking about it as if it had higher pedigree than Nidai. And the only pedigree that's higher than Nidai is the Saijo, okay? So I'm thinking this blade right here that we saw Tenguyama wield with the feathered hilt, that might be, or the feathered guard, that might very well be a Saijo sword. Also, we have the Shogun. I would be rather disappointed if the Shogun of Wano, the strongest warrior of Wano, because he's like the head of all the samurai, I mean, excluding Kaido, because Kaido's not originally from Wano, but he's just kind of setting up shop there. Strongest samurai warrior of all of Wano, the Shogun, I would be disappointed if he did not have a Saijo O Wazamono sword. I mean, he kind of has to. Alright, maybe he has more than one. Maybe he has 2. Maybe he has one sword that's Saijo and then the other... So you know how Mihawk has Yoru? But he doesn't bust out Yoru on all the riffraff. I mean, come on. You know how many people wander up to Mihawk and are like, "We challenge you, Mihawk." You think he's gonna bust out Yoru for all of them? Well, during the War of the Best he did, but there was a lot of things going on at the War of the Best, so he's just like, "I have no time for you, you peon." Foosh! And then moving on to my next target. But when he fought Zoro in the East, he's like, "I'm not even gonna bother. I'm just gonna use my little pocket cross knife sword thing and fight you with that. I also use it to eat my takoyaki. Delicious." But yeah, so the Shogun might have something like that. He might have a... Oh, I just thought of something really cool. The Shogun has 4 swords! So for one thing, that one-ups Zoro, because Zoro walks around with 3. The Shogun has 4. But it goes with each level, so it's like, you are a pitiful Ronin that I do not know. I will only grace you with the lowest class, my Wazamono sword. And then he's like, and then he fights, and he's like, "Oh, you're pretty strong. I'll go up to Ryu, and then I'll go up to O Wazamono. Now, that's a little bit of power scaling kind of shit, that's kind of a cliche. But it would be cool. I mean, if the Shogun, he would have access to pretty much any sword in Wano, essentially, except the ones that are wielded by, like, Tengu Yama and Kinemon. Like, all the master bladesmiths in Wano are at his disposal. I mean, come on. I could see the Shogun chilling out in his chambers, and there's just a massive wall behind him with nothing but swords on them. I mean, that would be pretty cool. But anyway, yeah. So, let's talk about Nidai. Now, we don't really know much about Nidai in terms of, like, you know, how effectual it would be in the hands of a master swordsman, because right now, it's in the hands of Luffy. So let's go through this. When I said this in the review, I was like, oh god, Luffy's gonna... Because I'm picturing, like, Luffy pulls out Nidai and he's like, let's do it, Zoro! And then he, like, bonks himself in the head. He's like, ow, that hurt! And then he's, like, crashing down because the blade is cursed. But let's actually think about what this curse means. The curse does not mean that, like, everybody that touches Nidai immediately becomes, like, super clumsy and shit. Like, I compared it to, like, in Film Gold, when Luffy got his luck removed by Baccarat. He was slipping around on banana peels and everything. Because the Kitetsu swords are based off of the legendary sword Muramasa. Alright, Muramasa was a swordsmith that made swords that apparently were so bloodthirsty, people thought that they were cursed, and that every time that they were drawn, these Muramasa blades had to taste blood. And if they did not taste the blood of their enemy, then they would take it from their master before they could be sheathed again. Just an urban legend, really, but that's what the Kitetsu blades are based off of, okay? So it's not the kind of curse where it's like, you grab it and you're instantly, like, befelled with all kinds of bad luck. Rather, it's the kind of curse where, when you draw that blade, there's gonna be a lot of blood. And this was something that was shown during Whiskey Peak, when Zoro first used his swords. He pulled out, Yubashiri and Kitetsu, and he started cutting down all of those bounty hunters. But he didn't mean to kill them, but Kitetsu still drew blood. Kitetsu, it was this weird scene where, I think Zoro, because Zoro knows his ways around swords, right? Even back during Whiskey Peak, obviously he wasn't as strong as he is right now, but he still knows his way around swords. He's trained his whole life in this. So, he's using swords to fight against the bounty hunters, and I think there was a scene where he went to go cut them, and he didn't mean to cut them super deep, just to kind of, like, maybe, like, just graze them, but the blade cut really deep. Right, and there's no edge to this, so don't worry, I'm not gonna get cut or anything. But, although when I was taking it out of the box, I did cut myself on the groove here, because the groove is kind of sharp, so maybe it is cursed, I don't know. But, yeah, he went to go cut one of the bounty hunters, and it drew a lot of blood, and they were like, oh god! And Zoro was like, what? Oh, that was weird. You better start listening to me, sword. So, yeah, that's the kind of curse we're talking about here. So, for right now, Luffy hasn't drawn it yet, so... One possibility is that Zoro looks down and sees what this sword is, because Zoro can tell right away. That's how he tailed Kitetsu, as Sandai Kitetsu at Ippon Matsu's shop. The second he was looking around that barrel and picked it up, he didn't even have to be told. He was like, oh yeah, this baby's got a level 4 curse right here. Uh-huh. And Ippon Matsu's like, how did you know? You know, so Zoro could tell right away, because Zoro has, like, a big aesthetic of Zoro's character is he's, like, demonic. He's got, like, the demons behind him and the demon eyes and shit whenever he's fighting. So he could tell right away. Like, yeah, it's cursed. So I think the same basic premise should apply here. He just met Luffy. He wasn't really paying attention. But now they're about ready to fight Hawkins and his little band of merry men. So... Luffy, in the end of the last chapter, he didn't draw it yet. He was just grabbing the hilt and ready to pull it out. But it's possible Zoro might still stop him. Zoro might look down and like, whoa, 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 Luffy, what the hell is that? Like, oh, this is a sword. It's Nibai, whatever. It's like, Nidai! That's Nidai Kitetsu. I'm taking that. You're not using that. You know, it's the swordsman code, Luffy. I cannot, in my right mind, let you wield this, okay? You're fine with your gumu gumu and whatever and making giant wax mallets, but I am not letting you, in good conscience, use this damn thing. I'm taking it. Alright? You know, I maybe not necessarily in that exact way, but I could imagine Zoro just grabbing it out of Luffy's hand like, nope, you're not using it, I'm not dying today, okay? Other possibility is Luffy does use it in combat, where he jumps at the enemy, draws the sword. I can imagine, hey, it would be very effectual combining his Gumu Gumu no Mi with a sword. Just stretch out your arm really long and then twirl it in the air, and you got like a death helicopter rotor blade, just like a freaking buzzsaw, which that might actually, given Luffy's personality, that might very well be what he's going to attempt to do. Now, some people said, because Zoro has a tremendous amount of luck, that's what kind of makes him able to use his Kitetsu, because back at Logtown, how he tested it is he took out Sandai, I'm not going to do it, but he took out Sandai, threw it up into the air. Luckily, the ceiling of this shop was extremely high, threw up the sword, left out his arm, and it passed right over him. He's like, let's test what's better, the sword's curse or my good luck. I knocked over my wastebasket. The sword is cursed. But, yeah, of course he didn't get cut. Now, Luffy also has a tremendous amount of luck that we've seen multiple times throughout the story. So, it's possible that he might be able to wield it without getting seriously maimed. As for the people that he's fighting, that's another story. Luffy doesn't like to kill people straight up. He totally has in the story, though. Like, that's inarguable. Like, there was moments where he was fighting against, like, the guards at Impel Down, and he was just knocking them over the side into these boiling vats of blood, and like, they're definitely dead. Like, there's no way. There's times like, they're knocking people over ships during storms, and there's Sea Kings around. Like, yeah, Luffy is definitely responsible, at least indirectly, for the deaths of some people. But he doesn't like to directly kill people. Luffy's not the kind of guy that'll pick you up and just pound your face into bloody goo and just like, you're dead. So this might actually mess with him a little bit when the blade really like, oh no, I'm all about death. I am definitely killing. I have been hanging up on that Tengu's wall for 35 years. I'm killing someone today. And that might throw Luffy off a little bit, like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. That's a little bit too intense even for me. But I think it's, and something else people brought up before I forget is that there's a group of people that think Luffy is now a swordsman. And the logic for thinking this is he trained with Rayleigh for 2 years, and Rayleigh is a master swordsman, which, by the way, the sword Rayleigh has, also probably very well known. There you go. Look, this isn't even hard, Oda. This isn't even hard. Give us Saijo O Wazamono. There's 10 left, right? We know that Shodai is it's most likely Samurai Gandhi, and Yoru is in Mihawk, okay? So the other 10 swords, I can name off, like, at least a good chunk of people right now that can have Saijo O Wazamono swords, alright? Rayleigh, Shanks, you could make Whitebeard's Bicento one, screw it. What about, Koshiro, who is, Zoro's master at that dojo, who probably has ties to the Revolutionary Army? That's 6. What does Dragon fight with? I don't think Dragon fights with a sword, so that's not right. But still, that's 6 right there. That's half. You got half right there. And you can name other ones in the comments below. Like, oh, here's you go. Because I'm doing a video right now. I don't have time to sit down and look at the full, every single character in One Piece. That's Shiryu. Okay, Shiryu might have one. I'm thinking Shiryu was his was an O Wazamono. His was the same rank as Wado and Shusui. I don't think Shiryu has a Saijo, but he could. In which case, there's 7, so this isn't hard. If you just want to fill out the 12, okay? But, yeah, people think Rayleigh trained Luffy in the art of the sword. Now, I don't think this because, first off, it was stated that they trained mostly in hockey. Okay, Rayleigh trained Luffy in hockey, and Luffy has never had a tremendous interest in learning swordsmanship in the world of One Piece before. There's a few instances where he's picked up a sword. I'm not saying there isn't. Like, I think there was even a moment at Marineford, and this might have been included only in the anime, but there was a scene at Marineford where he was like, fighting against a bunch of Marines at once, and one of them had a sword, and they went to attack Luffy, and Luffy knocked him out, grabbed the sword that he had, and then there was a bunch of other Marines behind him that went to go, like, kick him, and Luffy used the sword to, like, block the attack while he was on the ground and then kicked them back up. There's scenes like that. Also, of course, there's the scene during Thriller Bark where he has the shadow of the sword master put into him and he can use the sword. But Luffy really hasn't... That's not his fighting style, okay? Luffy's never really sat around and thought, like, I need to learn the way of the sword. Because Luffy understands his own weaknesses in battle, and that's why he has a crew. That's like, the reason I don't use a sword is because I don't know how to, and Zoro is the one that is the master with the sword, and Brook as well. The reason I'm not a navigator is because I don't know shit about navigation. That's why I have Nami. There you go. So... you know, I don't know. It might be possible. I'm thinking maybe at one point they're sitting there, because they were training for a year and a half. Luffy trained for 2 years on Ruskina, but Rayleigh left after a year and a half, after he taught him all he could know about the basics of hockey. So there might have been a point in that year and a half where Rayleigh sat down with Luffy and they're having dinner and they're like, so Luffy, you know, you're doing pretty good with hockey training. I'm just throwing this out there. I mean, or you know, Luffy looks at his sword and like, wow, Rayleigh, that's a pretty fancy sword. And Rayleigh's like, want to learn how to use it? I could teach you the basics at least. Maybe something like that. And maybe Luffy screwed around with it for a little bit, and maybe he realized it wasn't for him, or maybe at least Rayleigh taught him the bare basics of swordsmanship. But knowing the bare basics of swordsmanship, I mean, Luffy's not a swordsman, okay? I think that would be really weird for his character if all of a sudden we had 3 swordsmen aboard the Thousand Sunny. You know what I mean? Just a little off. So, yeah, I don't think Luffy learned any swordsmanship training from Rayleigh. The most I could see that going is Rayleigh decided to teach him for one lesson, and Luffy's like, yeah, this isn't for me, and then they moved on to the rest of their training. But we'll see how that's going to go in the next chapter. Oh, man, there's going to be a lot of blood. People have said also because, you know, oh, there's no way Hawkins is going to win this. Luffy, Zoro tag team against Hawkins. Hawkins is going down. The thing you have to keep in mind, though, and the cool thing, though, Hawkins has extra lives. He's like a video game character. He's got those voodoo dolls, right? So next chapter could be an excuse for Oda just to go balls out. He could have Zoro and Luffy just wrecking Hawkins. Just, and then Luffy, Gear 4th, King Kong God, bam! And Hawkins is getting knocked around the freaking wasteland, getting shredded, getting pounded. Red Hawk getting set on fire. And at the end of this whole thing, Hawkins could just be knocked into the ground and, like, he's all messed up. His body's all contorted into, like, a crater. And then it's just, like, crack, and all the voodoo dolls start spawning out of his body, like 5 or 6 of them, and he's just like, ugh, man, you guys are tough. Alright, I'm out. And he just retreats, and he uses that knowledge to, you know, oh, that's how strong they are. Okay, I learned some things from this battle. And then he leaves and goes back to Kaido and explains what level they're at and everything, and that could be better experience for later. And the way Hawkins' fruit works, we don't know exactly how he creates his substitutes, his voodoo dolls, but you would assume that if he, let's say there's an upper limit, let's say there's 10, I think there is an upper limit, he can't have an infinite amount of lives, or not even infinite, he can't have like 400 lives in him at once. Let's just say 10. Let's say Luffy and Zoro remove like 5. If Hawkins retreats, he could probably just create 5 more. You know, it's just like, if he gets back to his place, he could do his ritual or whatever he, you know, like body replacement jutsu, summoning curse, I don't know what, but he could do that. Yeah, if he's just like, I'm activating my power on you and you and you and you. Because Kaido has no shortage of disposable minions. I'm sure the Shogun doesn't either. So they're like, yeah, you're the new, you're Hawkins' new extra life. I'm like, it would probably suck for that dude, but what's he gonna say about it? You know, it's Kaido and the Shogun, and Hawkins is under their legion, and Hawkins is stronger than the riffraff, so that's what he could probably do. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if those men that Hawkins was with, they might be his extra lives. Who knows? But yeah, look forward to that in the next chapter. I think Oda's gonna have a lot of fun with a guy that can't die, or at least can't die right away. Because the first time, you know, we saw Hawkins in battle, Kizaru Lightspeed kicked him right upside the temple, and it just knocked him into a wall, and he just got back up and just brushed off his cloak and just like, 2 lives, huh? Man, I feel nervous going into this battle even with 10. So, a kick from an admiral, Lightspeed, point blank, right in the freaking gray matter, 2 lives. So, Luffy and Zoro teaming up, even if, I don't think they're gonna go all balls out, but even if they did, even if Luffy went Gear 4th, King Kong Gun, Snake Man, King Cobra, even if Zoro, you know, hockeyed up all 3 of his swords, you know, Ichi Dai Sansen, Dai Sensekai, even did all that crap, maybe 4 or 5 lives. Something like that. They're not going to whittle him all the way down to 10 like Kizaru did, where he had him dead to rights and was just pumping him full of laser beams. So, you know. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see what Oda will do with that fight. But yeah, so Samurai Gandhi most likely has Shodai. We'll see that probably much further down the line, but we still might get a flashback of this. We might get a flashback of maybe Tenguyama Hitetsu's backstory, or then the Kitetsu's backstory, or whatever, which, by the way, their names, I don't know if I mentioned this. So, Tenguyama Hitetsu, okay? So, Hitetsu, Tetsu just means iron in Japanese, okay? Which makes sense given the fact they're swords masters, okay? Tetsu means iron. He, from what I understand, means non, or not. So his name is Not Iron, which might be a reference to non-ferrous material or alloy. Ferrous material has a lot of iron in it, like steel, and non-ferrous does not have a lot of iron, or a very negligible amount of iron. Things like brass, copper, aluminum, zinc, shit like that. So that might be the reference he's doing with Hitetsu. And then Kotetsu, I didn't really see a lot of references to what I know Ko can mean child in Japanese. Just right out of the gate, I knew it meant child. Like, Psyduck from Pokemon. His Japanese name is Koduck, which just means child duck. But I highly doubt Kotetsu's name translates out to child iron, you know? It can also mean, I saw in one reference, dark or thick. So maybe dark iron would make more sense because it's cursed. Maybe something like that. Maybe someone that knows better, you know, about Japanese could maybe lead the translation from Kotetsu, what it actually means. But that's just the stuff I saw. But okay. Yeah, once again, check out the Kitetsu video for a full rundown of this. This was more of just me talking about some stuff I missed in the video, and some more stuff about bladed weaponry, and we'll see who else owns the Saijo swords throughout One Piece. Leave your comment below on who do you think owns all 12. Because I think it's very likely we're going to see them. I don't think it would be that hard. Just pick out 12 heavy hitters in the series, and you're set to go, Oda. So there's plenty of those. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great night. This will be Tekking, signing out.